Get you ready for Sunday. Make every Sunday a Slider Sunday, thanks to our good friends at King's Hawaiian. Speaking of good friends, probably not as good a friend to Fritzy as he is to me after Fritzy said, Ross Tucker, why don't you wait 20 minutes? We got to bring in Adam Sandler. And I said, no, make Sandler wait. And you said, nope, can't do that. Ross Tucker, CBS Sports Westwood One, and the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Ross was on the call for Westwood One last night, Packers and Lions. So you can tell your kids you got bumped for Adam Sandler there, Ross.
Yeah, you know what's so funny about that, Dan? They're 12 and 11. I'm wondering what they know about Adam Sandler. I think it might be way cooler to tell my wife and friends that I got bumped for Adam Sandler. I actually replied to you guys on X at Ross Tucker NFL, and I got a new poll question of the day for Seton. Should I be honored or offended that I got bumped for Adam Sandler? There's already 130 votes. 74% say honored. 26% say offended so far.
I would say you should be honored. You should be honored.
To me, I don't care. I'm just in a hotel room in Detroit, and it's a way cooler story now. Like, I'm going to tell everybody, it's a way cooler story that I got bumped for Sandler than if I just came on at 10:20. The only issue, Dan, is I was on the radio in Chicago before I came on. Fritzy texted me no less than 10 times while I'm on the radio on my phone in Chicago. Can you go later? 10:40, 11:05, Sandler. Oh, he's on a break in his thing. Like, hey, Fritzy, how about just one text with all of the information, as opposed to the ding coming in every 3 seconds as you say 3 more words and hit send?
I would say to that I didn't mean to ding up your phone, and I certainly wasn't aware that you were in the middle of an interview on on a radio station.
But even if he's not on an interview.
But things were also changing. I was getting different notes from the Sandman about when he was available, so that caused me to change the update on what I had to share with Ross while we were moving things around.
Right.
I certainly I didn't mean to be a pest.
All right. Thank you, Todd. Ross, can a team peak too soon?
Yes, no question.
Can the Lions be peaking too soon?
I don't think so, because of how injured they are on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they have 13 guys on IR on defense. Nobody else has more than 7. After Aleem McNeil, who's a stud, by the way, after he went out, Dan, they didn't have a single guy playing last night that was in the 2 deep on the defensive line for their opener. Oh. Think about that. That is nuts. They're playing with all guys off the street or practice squad guys and still beating the Green Bay Packers in a game like that. It's incredibly impressive. I mean, I'm watching Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams make some plays. They just signed both those guys this week, and it's a Thursday game. It's incredible what they've done. And I would say in particular, the offense is awesome. But for them to be good enough on defense to win these games with some of the guys they're playing with is super impressive.
Yeah, I just wonder about that, the attrition. When does that catch up to them? So far, they've managed it. But this is where I go back, and I said at the start of the show, I think the Eagles are the most balanced team in football right now, and maybe the best team in football right now. Buffalo is in there as well. Certainly the Lions are. I can't diminish what they've done. I just have to look at the bigger picture here, and that is, at some point in the postseason, you're going to have to stop somebody. That you're not going to win all these shootouts, at least I don't think you will, but what would be your biggest concern with the Lions?
Well, so 2 things. One is Reader's going to come back. Aleem McNeil's coming back. I had Anzalone on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast Wednesday. He's coming back from that broken forearm. So they're actually going to get a bunch of these guys back before they get into the postseason. That will help. And the number 1 seed is just huge. I mean, being able to not have to play that first week, so you get more people healing. And then I can tell you last night, and I know some people said on the television broadcast that maybe they couldn't hear the crowd. It was loud. Really loud. I thought it affected the Packers a little bit. My biggest concern, Dan, about the Lions is 4th down variance, right? They're very aggressive, and they were 3 out of 4 last night, and it's a big reason why they won the game. And on a lot of those instances, they are going with the numbers and what the percentages say. But the percentages and the numbers don't know it's the NFC Championship game, and they don't care. You know what I mean? Like they don't care. So, if let's say it's 50% on a lot of fourth down conversions, right? Well, they were 75% last night. They were 3 out of 4. In 3 playoff games, or maybe 4, I wonder which one of those it comes back to bite them. They threw the ball, Dan, on 2 4th and goals. They threw it. A lot of bad things can happen there. A D lineman can bat the pass down. Goff can have a bad throw. Good defense by the Packers. The guy could drop it. When you're in a situation, this is not the Eagles with the tush push on their 4th downs. They're throwing the ball on some of these 4th and goals. They were both touchdowns. They're in one of the playoff games. It's not going to happen for them. They're gonna go 1 for 3 on 4th downs, and it might be what costs them.
And I wondered about that if Dan Campbell is saying, let's give somebody something to think about in the postseason by what we're doing in the regular season on some of these 4th down calls, that we're not going to be predictable. The predictability is we're going for it, but there is no predictability in what play we call there. That's the only thing I thought of there. But if you played on the Lions and you're on the offensive side of the ball, being a lineman, and Dan Campbell's going for it on 4th down, what does that do for a team when they get in a huddle and you basically know when we get to 3rd, we're getting to 4th down as well?
Well, there's 2 awesome aspects of that. Number one, we saw this a bunch last night. It enables them to be willing to run the ball on 3rd and medium, which really helps the play action pass game, really helps out the offensive line. They're not afraid to run 3rd, 4, 5, and 6. They'll run the ball. They ran for a first down a couple times. They didn't, but they got closer. Then they went for it on 4th down. So that's a cool aspect of it. And then the other thing is just the belief and faith that team has. I thought a couple times, started the second half, then after they stopped them on 4th down, and the Packers went up twice in the second half, and I thought, okay, what a valiant effort by the Lions, but they're outmanned, and it's just not going to happen for them. I think because of how much Dan Campbell believes in them, I think it reinforces the self-belief, the confidence. We talked to David Montgomery, Ian Eagle and myself after the game, and he said Dan Campbell told them all week, almost every 4th down, if it's close, we are going. So those guys, they just know that Campbell believes in them, and even if they don't get one, they know they're going for it, and they know their coach believes in them that they're going to get it. I think that's a big reason why they're so resilient, and they keep coming back even when the Packers take the lead like they did.
Curious your opinion on Azeez Al-Shaair, the 3-game suspension on Trevor Lawrence, and will we see a modification of the rule or a possible rule change with this play?
I think they need to strongly consider what they're going to do with the quarterback slide. I never thought of this until I heard Rex Ryan talking about it earlier in the week, and I'll give him a lot of credit for that. It's not a smart decision by a quarterback unless you Tom Brady it and do it super early. But that kind of goes against human instinct, right? Like human instinct is to get as many yards as you can and then get down. But when you slide feet first, the thing highest off the ground, the last thing to get down and protected is your head. You're making yourself very, very vulnerable. Now, I thought Al-Shaair could have done a better job of avoiding that collision. And I will say this, though. Anybody that's ever played will tell you, everything out there happens so much faster than it does when you're watching on TV. I mean, it happens in an instant. I thought he got 1 game for basically the hit and his track record. He's had some other questionable hits. I thought he got another game because of how bad it looked for Trevor Lawrence and carted off and all that. I thought the 3rd game, honestly, was because of his reaction afterwards and like the riot that it started. I actually really thought they would reduce it to 2. I'm surprised that they didn't.
Always great to talk to you, and thanks for joining us. And
My pleasure. I don't know when Happy Gilmore 2 will be released.
it's probably
I have
in
no
July.
idea.
It'll be in July.
I know that I feel like John Daly doesn't know what he's talking about. I know at least that.
And you're probably going to get bumped from the guest list of being able to see the movie. So just letting you know, you might get bumped again, Ross. Thank you,
Gosh,
buddy.
I love that movie. We watched that 50 times in college. Love it. Thank you, Dan.
Ross Tucker, CBS Sports Westwood One, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and social media at Ross Tucker NFL.